Peace, boys and girls. Here's your last lesson, 8.3, the first political parties of the United States. Where we left off in our last lesson was with Washington's farewell. He warned our country to stay together and not divide. He also warned us to stay out of other countries' affairs, so basically stay peaceful. So that's the basic theme that carries into creating the first political parties. First thing to know. By 1796, Americans would start to divide politically. All right, we had Thomas Jefferson conflicting in his views with Alexander Hamilton. Hamilton wouldn't win and become the next president, but he would be arguing that as Jefferson was somebody else. Let's look at the Constitution. What does it say? The Constitution actually says nothing itself about political parties. It doesn't say that it's illegal or unconstitutional or that you should. We recall that Washington said, "Don't divide as a nation. Do not form two factions of political groups." However, Washington did side mostly with one person. Was it Jefferson or was it Hamilton? What do you think? If you said Hamilton, you are correct. Remember, Washington supported the three-step plan to getting the debt decreased, right? Making tariffs and taxing, paying off the national debt, and the other one is creating a bank. Washington supported all those, okay? This new idea starts to approach because these parties are starting to form, even in Washington's presence, and it's called partisan. Partisan means favoring one side of an issue based on a political party belief. So if we take abortion, we know that the Republicans are pro-life, and on the other hand, Democrats are pro-choice. That is being partisan. Move on to the next one. Okay, the two political parties you can see clearly right here. All right, one would be the Federalists, the other would be the Democratic Republicans. Each would have a different leader. We can see down here below. Okay, we'll start with the Federalists. The Federalists would be led by Alexander Hamilton. Okay, he's a rich banker, self-made man. Lots to say about him that was really good. He's a hard worker. He believed in rule by the wealthy and the educated. He really feared rule by the ordinary person because he feared an unwise decision being made. When it came to the Constitution, the Federalists believed in loose interpretation. This means they wanted to stretch the power of the Constitution as much as possible, kind of like implied powers, which means even though it doesn't say it directly in there, maybe it implies it, or maybe it means that. As for the economy, the Federalists believed in banking and manufacturing. Trade was Hamilton's big economic goal. Keep trade, maintain it, grow it. When it came to allying with somebody in Europe, the Federalists liked the British. We knew this from the video prior. When it comes to the banks, we know Hamilton wanted to create the National Bank to help reduce the nation's debt. Finally, what did the Federalists believe when it comes to trade? Well, the Federalists liked the use of tariffs to import foreign goods. This would make American goods look really good and cheap and support the American economy. That was Hamilton. On the other hand, we had the Democratic Republicans. They would be led by Thomas Jefferson. So that's what you'll put down for the leadership there. Rule, according to the Democratic Republicans, would be by ordinary people. You know, the commoner. You wouldn't have to be wealthy. You wouldn't have to be rich. It should be everybody's decision. When it came to looking at the Constitution and its power, they believed in strict interpretation, which means it must explicitly say it in there. XYZ, then you can do XYZ. If it doesn't, it should be left for the states and the individual people. When we look at the economy, the Democratic Republicans, like Jefferson, believed in agriculture, not so much trade like the Federalists. Ally would be the opposite of the British, which would be the French. And instead of a national bank, let's keep it in the hands of some people that are local, so he believed in state banks. Not too much power like a great big umbrella, which our federal government covers today. When it comes to trade, Jefferson believed in free trade with no tariffs. So if France and Britain wanted to trade with us, go ahead. It doesn't cost you anything. Equal competition. Last point. We know that Washington steps down. He serves 2 terms as our nation's president, setting a precedent. Okay, it would be the norm. The first election in 1796 would be the first real election. We would actually have parties running against each other and people would vote. Remember, Washington received unanimous votes. That means nobody voted for anybody else. The candidates definitely had party affiliations. We'd have the Federalists and the Democratic Republicans. The Federalists nominated John Adams, and the Democrats nominated Thomas Jefferson. Both of these guys were very close to Washington and helping him. These 2 friends would become rivals, right? They have 2 conflicting views, Federalist views, Democratic Republican views. The Constitution says that in an actual election, the person who receives the most votes would become president, and the second most voted person would become the vice president. So in this election, we see the results right here. John Adams took most of the manufacturing area up here in the north. Okay, a lot of manufacturing here as well. Thomas Jefferson took a lot of the rural area, the ordinary vote. Adams would win with 71 votes, and Jefferson would take second with 68. So we have something really interesting happening for the first time in U.S. history. Okay, we have a Federalist president and a Democratic Republican vice president, 2 conflicting views. Today, Trump and Pence, just like Obama and his vice president, they were the same political party. That is common today. All right. Your job now is going to be to go back into the Schoology folder. 8.3 looks like this. And I would like you to watch this John Adams video. You should come up and get a sheet from me. There will be one question at the top that I want you to ask yourself and answer about John Adams. Let's make that disappear. As soon as you're done with that, I want you to continue with video number 2, known as part 2 of section 8.3. Good luck. You can do it.